Washington, D.C., October 3rd, 2025. The United States is facing mounting pressure on multiple fronts as the government shutdown stretches into another week. Speaking from the White House press briefing room on Thursday, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt outlined the administration's preparations for potential layoffs across federal agencies and warned of escalating consequences abroad.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are now in day 3 of the Democrat-led government shutdown. All we need are 5 Democrat senators to do the right thing and to stop this shutdown. Gulf nations, and we hope that can continue. But right now, the president has made it very clear to Hamas.
What do you guys think about the NFL's decision to name Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer, somebody who has not scheduled shows in the U.S. because he says that he's worried that ICE is going to come and arrest his fame?
That's under consideration or discussion at this time. Caroline.
Is somebody yelling in the back? Go ahead. Me. Sure. Thank you. You can give us the backyard and we'll fill it all in and have in our own fiesta. Is the president open to that?
I had no idea she was going to ask that question. I just want to preface that. I've never met you. I just want to say that, but welcome to the briefing room. Medicaid costs for emergency services for illegal immigrants skyrocketed. Since Monday, I do have some updated statistics from the Homeland Security Council this morning. Since Monday, 153 arrests have been made in Memphis, including 5 gang members. 48 illegal guns have been seized, and 5 missing children have already been recovered. The Democrats need to reopen the United States government, and we hope that they will do the right thing on the Senate floor in just a few moments. Thank you, everyone.
From the streets of Portland to the conflict in Gaza and the crackdown on Venezuelan drug cartels. Leavitt opened the press conference by acknowledging the growing strain on government operations as the shutdown persisted. She emphasised that discussions between the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, and various federal departments were ongoing to determine where cutbacks might occur. Karoline Leavitt said they are actively identifying where these cuts and these layoffs have to be made as this government shutdown hopefully does not continue. This statement marked the most explicit acknowledgement yet by the administration that prolonged funding gridlock could lead to significant job losses in the federal workforce. While she refrained from giving a timeline or specific figures, the warning underscored the sense of urgency as negotiations between Congress and the White House remained stalled. The press secretary described the process as collaborative, but also warned that the longer the shutdown lasts, the deeper the cuts may be. Federal workers across several departments, including non-essential personnel in transportation, housing and health services, have been warned to prepare for potential furloughs. Reporters pressed Leavitt on whether the administration had contingency plans to support those affected. She reiterated that the White House was prioritizing negotiations to end the shutdown, but admitted the agencies were already drafting plans for targeted layoffs to keep critical operations running. Beyond the shutdown, Leavitt highlighted President Trump's directive to deploy additional federal resources to counter escalating violence in Portland, Oregon, a city that has been at the center of political and ideological clashes in recent years. Karoline Leavitt stated, "The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists." What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting. This is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years. Her remarks echoed a consistent message from the administration that protests in Portland have morphed into lawless violence, necessitating a robust federal response. She did not specify the size or duration of the planned troop deployments, but insisted that federal forces would act to protect both the city and federal installations under threat.
Decide yesterday in their meeting which cuts they wanted to make to agencies and which ones would be permanent?
Again, I've kind of answered this question a few different times now. It's been asked in a few different ways. Their discussions continue between the Office of Management and Budget and cabinet agencies across the board, and they are actively identifying where these cuts and these layoffs have to be made as this government shutdown hopefully does not continue. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting, this is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years.
In a shift from domestic issues to foreign policy, the press secretary addressed the ongoing Middle East crisis. The White House has presented a new peace proposal to Hamas aimed at ending the cycle of conflict in Gaza. According to Leavitt, the proposal has the backing of key regional partners, but Washington is pressing for a swift response. Karoline Leavitt warned, "The president has made it very clear to Hamas that this is an acceptable and detailed proposal that they must accept, or the consequences are going to be very grave for them, and he has given them a deadline of Sunday evening at 6 p.m. The stark warning reflects the administration's growing impatience with the stalemate in negotiations. Officials close to the talks have suggested that if Hamas rejects the proposal, the United States may support harsher measures by Israel and its allies to contain the group's influence in Gaza. The press conference also touched on recent US military strikes in the Caribbean, targeting vessels allegedly linked to Venezuelan drug trafficking operations. The attacks, carried out under the president's direction, have drawn international attention and criticism from Caracas. Karoline Leavitt emphasized, "As the White House has said many times, the president has directed these actions, these strikes against Venezuelan drug cartels and these boats, consistent with his responsibility to protect the United States' interests abroad and in furtherance of the US national security and foreign policy interests. This is pursuant to his constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief and the Chief Executive to conduct foreign relations. In each of these cases, the vessels have been assessed by the US intelligence community to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations engaged at the time in trafficking illicit drugs to our country." Her remarks underscored the administration's argument that the military actions were not unilateral aggression, but a necessary response to criminal networks that threaten US national security. Venezuelan officials, however, have condemned the strikes as a violation of their sovereignty and vowed to raise the matter in international forums. During the briefing, Leavitt also provided updated crime statistics that the administration says highlight the need for stronger federal action in combating urban violence. Karoline Leavitt reported, "Since Monday, I do have some updated statistics from the Homeland Security Council this morning. Since Monday, 153 arrests have been made in Memphis, including 5 gang members, 48 illegal guns have been seized, and 5 missing children have already been recovered." The figures were presented as evidence of the administration's ongoing campaign to restore law and order in cities grappling with violent crime. While critics argue that the federal government's approach risks escalating tensions, Leavitt insisted that such interventions have tangible results in making communities safer.
The president has made it very clear to Hamas that this is an acceptable and detailed proposal that they must accept, or the consequences are going to be very grave for them. And he has given them a deadline of Sunday evening at 6 p.m. As the White House has said many times, the president has directed these actions, these strikes against Venezuelan drug cartels and these boats, consistent with his responsibility to protect the United States interests abroad and in furtherance of the U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. This is pursuant to his constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief and the Chief Executive to conduct foreign relations. In each of these cases, Michael, the vessels have been assessed by the U.S. intelligence community to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations engaged at the time in trafficking illicit drugs to our country.
The press conference reflected the wide-ranging challenges confronting the administration, from managing a budgetary impasse that threatens federal employees' livelihoods to navigating volatile conflicts abroad and addressing domestic security concerns. Reporters in the briefing room noted that the tone of Leavitt's remarks oscillated between reassurance and stern warning, a reflection of the multifaceted pressures facing the White House. While the administration seeks to project control and determination, the protracted shutdown and ongoing international crises risk testing public confidence in its leadership. The administration's strategy, as outlined by Leavitt, appears to hinge on a combination of firmness and contingency planning, applying pressure on both domestic adversaries and foreign actors while preparing federal agencies for the potential fallout of political gridlock in Washington. The acknowledgement of possible layoffs is expected to amplify pressure on lawmakers to reach a budget deal. Unions representing federal workers have already warned of severe economic disruptions if furloughs become widespread. Meanwhile, opposition lawmakers have accused the administration of using the shutdown as leverage in policy disputes unrelated to the budget. On the foreign policy front, allies of the US have expressed cautious support for the Gaza peace initiative, while urging restraint in rhetoric to avoid inflaming tensions further. Human rights organisations have raised concerns about the potential humanitarian consequences if the deadline to Hamas triggers military escalation. The strikes on Venezuelan vessels have drawn mixed reactions internationally, with some countries supporting the US stance on combating drug trafficking and others criticising what they view as an overreach of American military power. As the briefing concluded, the picture that emerged was one of a nation grappling with intersecting crises. The government shutdown threatens to undercut essential public services and livelihoods. Violent unrest continues to challenge domestic security, and geopolitical flashpoints in Gaza and in the Caribbean demand urgent attention. The administration's messaging suggests a determination to confront these challenges head-on, but it also highlights the fragile balance between maintaining order at home and projecting strength abroad. Whether that balance can hold in the face of mounting political, economic and security pressures remains to be seen.